time. You see
there he
Judge
goes.
Neff leaving.
He's a busy man.
You're going to give us some free legal advice. See what happens when you ask a judge for freebies?
Yeah, he's out of here.
No,
like,
thank you,
go.
Judge. Bye. No free advice, Jedediah. No.
Do you know something? I'm going to tell a secret, though.
I love
while
it.
Judge Knapp is still here, whenever I'm on air and I have a constitutional question that comes up, my little secret is that I email the judge and I say, "Hey, Judge, help me out," and I give him the details, and he gets back to me, and then I quote him on TV. I
Does
give
he
him
have his own
credit.
private server?
But he may.
I do that with Dr. Siegel from our medical
Oh, I do that
team.
too.
I'll be like, "Doctor."
Oh.
And sometimes it's not really story related. I have a spot on my leg.
I love that.
Doc Siegel will get right back.
Yeah.
He'll be like, "Oh, Harris."
You know what's terrible? I don't have.
I
I said to my mother the other day, I don't have one we don't have a doctor or a lawyer in the family. I'm like, if I get into trouble, it's
You're on
over
your
for
own.
me. I'm on my own. That's why
Yes.
I'm grateful I work here.
All right, so our newfound family on Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. We're so glad to see you again. And on FoxNews.com. Awesome to have everybody along. And there we are. Wow, so many comments.
Sorry,
Let's jump right in.
initially it's so fast when we get in there. So keep the comments coming. We're going to definitely get to them, but it takes just a second.
Mike Satoma says, "Judge, you were looking especially lovely today."
I
He's
loved
gone.
his tie. That was a gorgeous
Yeah,
white
it was
tie
gorgeous,
he had
right?
on there.
He's
Yes,
the
he's
best.
very nice.
He's very
taste.
suave.
Yeah, I love talking about him now that he's not here.
It looks like we're on teams now. We're so far apart on the couch.
You know what we used to do when Outnumbered Overtime was born?
Brady Bunch boxes.
And yeah, we would do Brady Bunch boxes, and it was so hard to figure out where to look that we just decided that if the hashtag One Lucky Guy has to depart. Well, one time when Brian Kilmeade left, we put a stuffed bear in a seat.
Oh, I remember that.
Right? But we
I remember
decided
that.
just to let the space breathe. It's
Hello,
negative
Marcos
space.
Garcia
It's okay.
from San Diego. We love when you give us a shout out from wherever you are writing in from and watching from. We always appreciate that. Big fan of the show today. A lot of folks loving.
Oh, no.
Well, it's hard to say. A lot of people are discussing the gorilla story. This is like,
Yeah.
everybody's talking about this today.
Well, we can
it's a
talk about it.
difficult
Let's
story.
talk about it then.
When they asked Donald Trump about the gorilla story yesterday at the press conference, I almost fell off my chair in the office because I was like,
a lot of
how is
reporters
that
took heat
pertinent
for that.
for this conversation that you're having at
Did
a
you notice
veterans
how he
press
responded, though? He didn't
conference?
miss a beat.
No, of course not.
yeah.
He's fearless, and this is the difference between him and Hillary Clinton. And another thing we were talking about on the show today was this idea that she is not having press conferences and opening herself up to random questions from potentially hostile reporters who are not, grateful to have her on her show. Instead, are sitting out there just firing questions at her. And he loves that format. I mean, he's not the least bit afraid to stand there and take whatever incoming
thrives
fire
in that format.
comes his way, and she is just not willing to do that because she'll be forced to cackle.
It's true. It's such a contrast because she's so scheduled and she's so predictable and everything is thought out and pre-planned. And then you have this guy who you ask him a question and he just speaks. He doesn't really. There's no filter there. I mean,
But that's the big question, right? Is how is that going to play out? It's one thing to have that play out that way in the primary.
Yeah.
How's that going to play out in a general
I
election?
think it looks honest, though. I think what people will see is, regardless of whether they agree or disagree with him, he's going to look like a real guy standing next to her because she's so programmed, she's so robotic. There has to be some appeal in just authenticity, whether you agree or not. I mean, I look at Bernie Sanders and I don't agree with anything he says, but I believe that he believes what he's saying, and that makes me like him as a human. So if I were a little more, center left, I would be much more inclined to vote for him than Hillary because of that.
So I'm seeing a trend with Nino Sutcliffe's several posts on our live chat. So I'm just going to kind of sum it up this way, and thank you for watching and posting, by the way. What are some of Donald Trump's weaknesses as he kind of moves forward? Because I think, when we talk about this, we talk about Hillary Clinton, we talk about Bernie Sanders, and what I'm seeing from Nino Sutcliffe is that he doesn't feel like there's real honesty about moving forward on those weaknesses. For instance, no digital voter data that we know of has been done with this campaign, and you look at how traditional campaigns go forth in a general election, and you need those numbers. I would argue, has he changed the game?
I mean, it's interesting because as soon as you ask that question, I mean, you're talking about like the tactics within a political campaign. And I was thinking about, his base of knowledge, and that while I feel like with her, where she stands on foreign policy, and I feel like it's a disaster. If she points to her record, it's Benghazi, it's going home and going to bed when, we had people calling for help. It's Libya, where, they took out a dictator and instead replaced him with this vacuum of radical Islam, which is so much worse worse and more of a disaster. With him, you know, sometimes you worry. When he gave the speech that was prepared and he followed the prompter, he hit a lot of great points. You know, I wonder about his true grasp of the huge map that's out there and where we have friends, where we have enemies, and you know, his depth of knowledge. I hope he surrounds himself with the right people, but I think that's one of those weaknesses that he's, you know, could be a problem going forward.
Interesting. Warren Perala, hello from Crookston, Minnesota. I have been there many times. Good to see you. Thanks for watching. Yeah, I used to live in the former state of hockey. Well, it's still the state of hockey. It's just my former home state. So we have people from all over. What else are you seeing on Facebook Live?
I'm sorry. Yeah, sometimes I get carried away reading all.
Where did Sandra go?
Everybody's got an opinion on pretty much everything we talked about.
Especially the gorilla.
We've got great attendance also on the chat, as Harris likes to say, old school on the outnumbered overtime chat. 7,300 people weighing in. They love the color coordination today. It's the most recent comment by
Harris
Dave
is glowing.
Visser. We appreciate that. Jay Wolf would like to say the couch looks a little weird with no guy.
Oh, okay. I'll put my tablet there. The color wheel is bumping.
Yes. I love it. What?
Oh, wow.
What?
I'm so excited.
The color wheel.
Oh, where's Patch? Yeah, Patch, our stage manager. We could always put him in.
There.
Could you imagine? We did have, when we launched the show a couple of years ago, we had an oversized stuffed animal.
Yeah, when Brian Kilmeade got up one day, we put that in
Patch
there.
went to get food.
Hashtag one lucky bear, we called him.
Where do you think we're going with this gorilla story? Because I keep seeing it mentioned. So they're going to do these two investigations. Sandra brought up a great point, though. When you start to look really closely at people's backgrounds when an accident like this happens,
That's not fair.
sometimes
in that one
it can
incident.
really come across that you're punishing the people who potentially could have been the victims.
I'll read this one. Sandra Smith, you do a fantastic job. That is the benefit of having the chat.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Pat yourself on the
Let
back.
me just show you.
You want to talk?
All of your fans are writing in. If I tried to name them all,
Oh, but that's
that
the
was
one
just
you
a joke.
read. You read that one, Sandra, of all the ones.
Serious topic,
Oh,
Melissa.
Jedediah, your fans write in even when you're not on the couch, believe me.
So what do you
Say
think
hello to
happens
them,
next?
please. They're so happy you're here.
I think so. I think there's one. There's also a domestic violence situation going on here in New York, and the story. It's a totally different story, but I only bring it up because I feel like we jump to one conclusion based on what the story looks like when it comes out.
Yep.
Then it can flip and be something totally different. So racing to place blame on saying either the parents weren't watching closely enough or they were doing this or whatever, like you can be dramatically wrong in the end. And unless I was there or I see a video of what everyone was doing at the moment, you really can't judge who did what wrong.
And I have not learned, I mean, obviously, I'm a fairly new parent. I've got a 3- and a 1-year-old. And oh my gosh, when you look at the way other people parent and the way they watch their, it's going to be drastically different than the way you choose to. And I have not noticed that until very recently now when I've got a toddler out there playing and it's like, you look at other parents and the way they watch their kids, it's like, I don't do it that way.
Right.
Totally different parent stuff. So to place judgment on the parents, I don't know, maybe there is an issue, but that's a separate story. They can look at it at home. But
we don't know. We don't have, unless we have video of what everybody was doing at that second. We just have no idea. The only thing that I would say, and you brought up a good point, and I heard this earlier today from Martha McCallum, was if you see a diagram of the exhibit and, you know, the 3-foot fence and then the bushes and then the 15-foot drop and then the ladder that he dragged the child up onto the whatever, that if in Florida, I know it is your pool around your fence has to be 4 feet. And it's sort of the same danger that 3 feet isn't enough.
It isn't enough.
So the fence could be higher, but that takes us back to we got to protect everybody from everything in this country. It's a little crazy.
You know what's interesting though is you kind of get into the details of the perimeter around that cage where the ape was, the gorilla was. If you really look at the height of things and all of that, I mean, we have so many things in our society that you can climb up and fall through things.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that you can protect everybody from everything,
No,
but I will say that as a parent, if you know that your child is yay big and you're all at the enclosure, I just ask the question of, well, why didn't they have people farther back? I don't know.
Somebody just said I'm addicted to my devices. I'm reading the chat.
They're going to look at everything, I would imagine.
Yeah,
right?
they have
They're going to
to.
look at everything. And
yes, I do hate that we've become that country where, you know, the government, because that's like the government's going to protect us from everything. They're going to regulate the size of the fence to make sure and nobody gets hurt, you know, I mean, and it just is sort of, stuff happens.
I'm surprised there's not video of what exactly was going. Just with the way technology is now, I wouldn't be
see it from
surprised.
different perspectives from people who were recording on it. Like this one woman who had come forward said, "Well, I shared my video because I wanted people to hear the conversations that were going on while this was happening." But I make the argument, and this would be on the part of Cincinnati Zoo to look into, or the investigation that's going on, that child could have died in that 15-foot drop.
Right.
I mean,
I thought the same thing.
It may never have even reached the gorilla. So again, I look at the parents and I look at the zoo. How could you get close enough to even have that happen?
Right.
And maybe the parents can help the zoo, and vice versa.
Look,
in terms of
I'm going to say it again.
preventing.
I think we can all agree we're just grateful. This little boy is all right.
Yeah.
It's just got a couple.
We mourn the
scratches.
loss of the animal, the endangered species. I mean, I know the zoo employees were really sad. There's a fund in Harambe's honor. Harambe means pull together, by the way, in Swahili. It's kind of a cry in Kenya when people are kind of getting together for a common cause. That's what his name means. So, but human life over gorilla life is what the zoo said it did. Ladies, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for the compliments on the color wheel. Yay! I feel like I accomplished something today. We'll see you tomorrow.